Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sovereign Room. I'm your host, Sarah El-Sherbeni, naturopathic doctor, feminine embodiment guide, and somatic facilitator. This is your space to come home to your body, reclaim your voice, and heal the nervous system patterns keeping you in survival mode so you can trust yourself again, feel safe in your own skin, and lead your life, relationships, and business from sovereignty instead of self-abandonment. I am so excited you're here. Come sit with me inside the Sovereign Room. Amazing episode. I'm so excited. Today's episode is going to be about 3 ways to clear your channel when it comes to using your voice. And this feels super alive for me because before recording this episode or any episodes that you guys have been listening to, love to clear my channel and ground myself and prepare myself in the way of what does the world need to hear today? What message needs to come through? But most importantly, it feels very alive because actually before recording this episode, I sat with Hape. So for those who don't know what Hape is sacred tobacco from the Amazon. And this particular message came through loud and clear. And I was like, oh, this needs to be shared. And it's, what if the clarity you are seeking is not something to visually see, but something to listen to? Because when we talk about clarity, so many of us think that we have to look for it. I'm looking for this clarity. And so we're looking outside of ourselves. We're looking for this next sign, this next confirmation, the next person to validate what we already know. This perfect plan, the next sentence that's going to make us, make us feel so certain and confident and all the things. Or the next outline and script and content piece and all of these different things. And the next version of the thing that we've already recorded 5 times, right? But if we have the clarity, what if, let's try that again, right? But what if the clarity you are looking for is not outside of you? What if it's something that needs to be heard? What if it has been in your body, your intuition, your nervous system, and your voice this whole time? And the reason you cannot hear it, right? It's because there's too much noise. You know how they say those who are blind, right, are able to hear so much better, and they just have so much more sensation and clarity in that sense, because you're not, your visual field is not clouded by looking here and looking there. And I was just well, wait, wow, right? And that's the message that came through. So I was just I gotta share that. But there's just too much pressure and too much perfectionism happening that we perform too much, we over prepare, too much of trying to sound like this version of yourself who finally has it all together. So today we're going to be talking about the voice. We're going to talk about how to clear your channel, how to use your voice without abandoning your body, okay? And 3 ways for you to become a clearer channel before recording an episode, creating a content piece, or having a conversation, speaking, or sharing something that matters to you, right? So if this episode is for you, you may be in a season yourself where you have something to say, but the second you go to say it, you completely disconnect from your body and you start over preparing, rewriting, making the script tighter. Then you make it too tight, and then it starts it stops sounding like you. Right? And then you record the reel once and you're oh, let's do it again. So then you record it again and again. And then you have 4 versions of the same talking head reel. And somehow you still have not even listened to the very first one. And now your phone is 10%, right? Your body's irritated. You're frustrated. Your throat feels tight. And your spirit guide is probably looking at you what are you doing? And the funniest part is that a lot of times the first version was the one. The first version is the one that you go with anyways, right? It may have had the filler word. It may have not been super perfect. You may have looked away for a second. You may have stumbled, but the first version had life to it. It had your life. your vitality, your energy. It had your body in it, most importantly. And it had the message that you were trying to get across before your mind started to get involved and overthink and all the different things and tried to make it impressive and eloquent and all of that. This is where so many of us women get stuck. And we don't have a voice problem, ultimately. I'll tell you that. We have a pressure problem, right? It's the pressure problem, the perfectionism, the visibility wound, right? We have the visibility wound. We all know this, right? They have a nervous system that thinks being heard means being judged, being misunderstood, being rejected, or being too much. So instead of speaking, we keep preparing to make sure that it's perfect and we say everything perfectly to a T and it sounds eloquent and beautiful things, right? I have done this so many times. I have recorded the same reel over and over and over again, right? And before even listening to the first version, right, I'm already trying to make another one because I've analyzed myself in the first version, like, oh, let's make this better. We could do this better, right? And then there's another, and then there's another. And then at some point I'm sitting there so freaking frustrated. My phone is dying. So now I have to go charge it. And now I have to wait like 30 minutes for it to charge enough for me to record again. And the message does not even feel alive anymore because now you're recording it five reels deep and now you're just frustrated and now you're trying to record it just to get it done. Baby, like, and then it's like my spirit guide just comes through just looking at me and it's like, what are you doing, girl? Because the first one was fine. The first one was real. The first one had the transmission that you were wanting to get across. And I think that is the thing. Sometimes we are trying to polish the humanity piece of things out of our voice, that we think confidence comes from having every word perfectly prepared, but confidence comes from repetition. You were not born with a blueprint for being visible. You were not born knowing how to speak on camera or speaking to a microphone. Right? You were not born knowing how to record a podcast, create content. You were not born knowing how to hold a room with your voice. Of course, you're going to stumble. Of course, you're going to say right 15,000 times. Of course, you're going to record something that does not feel amazing. That's not failure. Your body's just starting to learn how it can be seen, how it can feel safe with using its voice and survive, ultimately, right? And so using your voice gets to be human, as we all are. We are spiritual beings having this human experience, and we get to experience that as well. It gets to be alive. It gets to have our breath in it. It gets to have a pause. It gets to have a moment where you find the next word. It gets to sound like you. Because if you show up as this perfectly polished person who supposedly has it all together, what are you teaching other women listening? That she has to wait until she's perfect to speak? That she has to wait until she has her whole journey figured out before sharing from it? That she has to sound like the final draft before her voice actually matters? No. Share the journey, share the becoming, share the imperfect sentence that still carries your truth in it. Share the moment where your body learned something before your mind even caught up and knew how to actually explain it to people. That is often where the power comes from. And this is especially true if you are a healer, a doctor, a guide, a practitioner, a creative, an artist, an entrepreneur, a woman with a medicine. Yes, 100%. A woman with a message, right? People do not only need the polished version of you, the polished expertise. They need your lived embodiment, your language, your humanity. They need to feel where the real woman is behind the microphone, behind the camera, behind their phone, that they're watching you, listening to you, wherever that might be. And so I want to come back to that message I shared earlier that I got from my hape ceremony, which is, what if the clarity you are seeking is not something to visually see, but something to listen to? Because when you are over preparing, you are usually looking for clarity, right? You're looking at the script, you're looking at your notes, you're looking at the comments, looking at what someone else said, right? Looking how the reel should perform, looking at whether the podcast will actually land with people, looking at whether people will understand what you're trying to say. And it may be actually in the listening to your body, listening to the sentence that keeps coming back, A lot of times the first word or the first voice that comes out of you is what's intended to come through, right? Like, sure, I wanted to say women with a message, but my body and my voice keeps saying women with medicine, because we have so much medicine to share and there is a message within that medicine. And so it's listening to your body, listening to the sentence that keeps coming through, listening to the phrase that just will not leave you alone. It just keeps coming back and you keep hearing it over and over again, right? Listening to the feeling in your throat, listening to the part of you that knows the first recording had the truth in it to begin with, listening to the message that truly wants to come through, not the message that your mind thinks will be received the best, right? Because our logical mind, that's what it likes to do. Okay. That is what it means to become a clear channel. It's not about becoming empty. It's about clearing enough of the outside external noise, enough to hear what's already in here and what really needs to be spoken through. What do your people need to actually hear? So let's get into the 3 ways to become a clear channel when using your voice, because I have, over the last several years, but just over the last year of me working with my voice, I have come to a few tools and things that I love to use to help clear my channel before speaking, before recording podcasts, before creating content, all of these different things. I feel like it's been super supportive for me, that I think it will be super supportive for you all as well. So a lot of people try to get clear by staring at their notes longer, right? We create the notes, we have the script, all of the things. But if your body is activated, your message usually starts to get tighter, right? Like if you're frustrated, if you're tight, all of these different things, you start to overthink, over edit, over explain. You try to sound smart and eloquent, and you try to make sure that nobody misunderstands you. You wonder if people are going to understand you, or am I going to make sense, or are people going to look at me like I'm crazy, right? So you try to protect yourself from being judged before you've ever even spoken a single word. And so before you record, speak, or have a conversation, clear your body first. That can look like moving, shaking, stretching, humming, toning, right? Tones. Meditation's really great to do that before that. Usually like putting one hand on your heart, one hand on your womb or your abdomen or wherever you feel called, and allow yourself to drop into your body, to loosen your jaw, loosen and release your pelvic floor, allow your jaw to just relax and really tune into your body, and allow your throat to make a sound. And that can be vocal toning, which I'm going to get into. It can be humming. It can be singing, whatever that looks like, right? Let your body remember that your voice is not only coming from your head, but it's also coming from your heart, and it's coming from your throat, and it's coming from your body, right? And so usually asking yourself questions like, especially going into a meditation or before speaking or recording podcasts and things like that. It's like, what does my body need before I actually speak today? What am I trying to force? What truth is already there? What part of me is afraid to be heard? Because sometimes you really don't need a better script. You just need to come back into your body before your voice can come through clearly. And so this is where I really love a lot of the vocal toning. And so vocal toning, like I said, it can just be singing, it can be humming. I learned a vocal toning practice through a voice program that I did a few years ago, I think now. But vocal toning is basically where you have your tongue kind of to the roof of your mouth a little bit, but your tongue belly, if you will, kind of like hangs low. So kind of like when you whistle a little bit. I don't know if y'all are going to be able to see it, but kind of like this if you're watching the video. You're making a sound. Basically, you're either from your belly, basically, and you can, what's the word I'm looking for? You can gauge and kind of like control the voice from whether you want a lower pitched sound or a higher pitched sound, but you're like you're breathing air through it. So I'm going to show you an example. And you're bringing the air from deep into your belly and then breathing that out. And that's a more higher pitch. Now, if I wanted something a little bit lower, I'm going to do a little lower one. So ensure you're using your diaphragm and your belly and your voice and your air to be able to do it. And it's a really, really fun practice. And I love doing it and playing with it because you will stun yourself. And do your research. Read more about vocal toning. We're mermaids. Okay. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things. And it instantly changes like my mood and how I feel because of the harmonic frequencies. Top tier. It's the best. Number 2 is practice using your voice every day for 28 days. Okay. So confidence, again, like I said, does not come from thinking about speaking. Okay. It comes from repetition. It comes from us using our voice and speaking. And that's why repetition matters. So for the next 28 days, use your voice every day. Record a voice note, tell a story on Instagram, read something out loud, share a 1-minute reflection, say the thing into your camera, and do not post it yet. You don't have to post it, but you can practice by recording it on your camera. And then practice naming what you feel, like what comes up for you when you are using your voice. Speak that out. Practice letting your voice come out before you have time to perfect it and make it this perfect thing. At first, you may use filler words. You might stumble. You might hate the sound of your voice. Okay. I mean, I used to not want to rewatch my speaking reels or videos because I'm just like, oh my God, my voice is so cringe. But now I love to rewatch it and see the energy and the power and how much I've transformed over the years from when I first started recording videos, making makeup videos, to now I'm creating content and making a podcast and speaking in talking reels, all of these things. You might feel awkward. You might hate the sound of your voice and all of that. And you might feel like you're rambling a lot of the times, but let that all be a part of it because your body needs evidence. Our body, our nervous system, our mind needs that evidence that you can speak safely and survive and you're not going to die. Evidence that you can be seen and also still belong to yourself. Evidence that you don't need to abandon your message to make it more palatable, right? Digestible. Over time, you'll start to notice subtle changes. You might pause more naturally. You might use fewer filler words. Your posture might change. Your tone might feel a little more grounded. Your throat will feel less tight and you may feel less noise in your head when you speak. You might start to recognize a difference between the message that comes through from pressure versus the message that comes through from your body. You might surprise yourself. And then number 3 is create a ritual before you speak. So the third piece of this is, and when I say ritual, I don't necessarily mean making your voice practice look more spiritual online at all. I mean creating a threshold between the noise of the world and the truth that actually truly wants to come out and come through you, because your voice is not only coming from your throat. It's coming from your body, your heart, your nervous system, your breath, your spirit, your lived experience, your ancestors, your relationship to the truth. Your body is, so if your body's contracted and your voice usually carries that contraction as well. So it might sound rushed. It might sound over-explained, tight and extra polished in a way that feels very disconnected from your body, your womb. Like you're trying to prove a message to people instead of just letting it move through you and flow through you like water. This is why I work with practices that really help clear my channel before I actually speak it. And so I want to name this with care, especially when we talk about plant medicine, okay? Because plant medicine is not a trend. Okay. It's not an aesthetic. It's not this like shortcut to like sounding more profound or anything like that. These medicines actually come from indigenous cultures, lineages, lands, rituals, and relationships that have existed long before the wellness world turned it into content. Okay. I got a lot to say about that because everybody's like on their 20th plant medicine journey. I'm like, girl, do you really need a 20th plant medicine journey? Like I've only gone on one so far and it's probably been like 3 or 4 years since my last plant medicine journey where I communed with mushrooms. When the time comes, the time comes. But I feel like we've commodified it to this point. So part of working with plant medicine for me is also decolonizing the way we relate to it. And that means respect, humility, learning where the medicine comes from, honoring the people who have carried these practices as well. It means not extracting the medicine from its like cultural and spiritual context just because it gives us a good message or whatever. So when I sit with Hape, I'm not using it to chase a message. I am using it to become still enough to listen, to ground myself. For me, Hape helps clear that mental noise for me, helps me come back to my breath, brings me back into my body. And it helps me actually notice what is actually present beneath all of the pressure, performance, and overthinking and all of that in trying to make the message sound like perfect. And this is where clarity often comes from, not from looking harder, but from listening more honestly to our body. And the same thing applies with vocal toning. So with Hape, usually what I do is I intuitively pick. I have a few that I pick from, but I intuitively pick one and I sit in ceremony with it. I set my intention. I hold it to my heart center and I set my intention. My intention is to clear my channel today. My intention is to clear my channel, open my heart more, connect to my unique voice, and connect with any message that needs to come through me today, whatever that is. So you put it to your heart center, say your intention. After I finish my intention, I usually like to blow it out, like I envision blowing out my intention into the world. And then you hold the Hape to your third eye center, and I usually thank the Amazon. I thank the people of the Amazon, all of the tribes. I thank the medicine, and I thank Mother Earth as well. And so I always sit with this in ceremony and really like do that before sitting with that. And I just love it. I really love the way that it grounds me, but I really love how it drops me into my body and drops me into the messages that need to be shared for the day. And then so with vocal toning matters because your voice is physical. It's a vibration and it lives in your throat, your chest, your jaw. It's connected to your pelvis and your nervous system as well. And so when you hum, you tone, or you let sound actually like move through you, you're not only warming up your voice, you are also creating safety around being heard. You're allowing your throat to open before your mind tries to control every single sentence that's going to come through. You are giving your body a felt experience of sound just moving through your body. And a lot of these frequencies that we're emitting also have healing properties, and they kind of tune us. Just like you tune a guitar, just like you use tuning instruments, like we're tuning our body and tuning our voice as well. And it's giving your body that experience through that. And for women who have swallowed our truth for so long and softened our opinions, laughed things off, just suppressing our voice and make ourselves much easier to love and then be palatable, then there's another practice that I call Kali breath. And for those who don't know Kali, I think it's also super important to understand why this practice carries the energy that it does. Kali is actually a fierce Hindu goddess, and she's associated with anger, rage, death, destruction, liberation, and the cutting away of illusions. Okay. She's not soft. She's not the soft, palatable version of feminine energy that so many women were taught to perform. She is a force that says we are done pretending, we're done swallowing the truth, and we are done protecting the version of ourselves that was built around silence. And so when I work with Kali breath, I'm working with the energy that is clearing the breath that brings heat and it moves change. It helps us access places where our voice has been buried under the fear, anger, pressure, and performance, because sometimes the voice, as women, we've been conditioned obviously to silence our voice, right? We're not here to speak up. And so because sometimes the voice is blocked, there is too much unexpressed energy just sitting in the body. Frustration, anger, pressure, the feeling that I have to get this right. And so Kali breath gives that energy somewhere else to move. So basically what the Kali breath is, you can also, I love to use these practices, like I said, setting aside that time, a little bit of ceremony, meditation, and things like that. And so usually it starts with just some gentle breath work, and I'll have some music playing. And with this gentle breath work, you're just breathing gently in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you're just gentle breath work. And you're doing that for a little bit. And then you'll start to notice anytime that you feel like you need to swallow, right? Have a cup by you and spit it out and just like spit it out. And do that for a few times, usually, like I said, for a duration of the song. And then as you are spitting out, after a few spits, I want you to express like that anger, disgust, or rage as you're spitting it in the cup. Express that. And then for the last part of that, for the second duration of the song, this is where like the Kali breath comes in. And so if you know of Kali, you know she's very known for her tongue is always out like that, right? So basically what this breath is, it's a one continuous breath. You're breathing into the belly, into the chest, and then out. And you're hissing. And so you're doing that continuously throughout the song. And you can do it without a song too. And you can just kind of like really channel into like, okay, I'm speaking today. I am recording a podcast. I'm creating some content. And I really want to tap into anything that is not unexpressed. I want to speak my truth and my voice, and you can do that. And so you'll just do that continuously for like a song or for a little bit, right? And as you continue to do that, I want you to make sure that your spine is nice and straight, your head is straight, and you can even get into it really like and really make noises and do that and like get it out, like clear that throat, baby, clear it. It's the best thing to do, and it might feel a little weird, but honestly you're gonna feel really great after you do that and really clear whatever it is that is in your throat. And from there, like I said, the voice can come through with more honesty, more body, more fire, and more truth. And the point is not that everyone needs to use hape, vocal toning, or Kali breath. What calls to you? You find a practice that works great for you, that feels good to you. The point is, out of this, is to ask your voice to carry something meaningful. Your body may need a clear way, a logical way that has been sitting between you and the message. That's how our brain works. So before I record, speak, teach, or have a conversation, I ask, like, what am I carrying into this that is not mine? What am I trying to perform instead of listen? What truth needs to come through my body, not just my mind? What needs to be cleared so my voice can be honest? That is the ritual, y'all. It's not about looking spiritual. It's not about becoming available, because the clarity that you are seeking may not be something that you are trying to visually see. It may be something that you finally hear when your body actually feels safe enough to let that truth speak through. So this is not instant, as always. You may do this once and suddenly you may not do this once and then suddenly become this confident speaker in the room, right? But when you keep practicing, you start feeling the shift, right? You feel less tangled in your head. You stop tweaking the same sentence for 40 minutes. You stop trying to record the perfect version before you have even listened to it, right? You stop trying to record the perfect version before you have even listened to the real one. You start trusting the message that comes through the first time. You start noticing that your voice has more weight behind it. See, the throat's already clearing. I'm telling y'all, your words start to land differently with people because your body's actually behind it. Your heart's behind it. Your womb's behind it. Your energy's behind it. And you might notice that you're not stuttering as much. You're using less filler words. You have a steadier pace. Maybe your voice is more like louder and clear and not as soft. Your posture is different. You have a cleaner tone. You might feel more connected to your intuition. Your channel is clearer, so you're getting all these messages and downloads and things like, oh, this wasn't here before, right? You're more aware of your energy. You're more able to sense something needs to be spoken and when something is not meant to be spoken and what's not ready yet. And that is the real work. It's not about sounding better. It's not about sounding better. It's about becoming more attuned to yourself, to your body, to your spirit, to your message, to your voice, to the person who needs to hear it. The clarity was never outside of you. It was always within you. And because this is something that I am really sitting with right now, I want to invite you into a simple 28-day voice challenge with me on Instagram. Every day for 28 days, I will share a simple prompt with you to help you use your voice. Nothing super complicated, nothing that's going to be over polished. just one small little practice to help you speak more, record, reflect, and become more comfortable and safe with being heard. Because your voice strengthens through use, not through waiting until you feel ready. So if this speaks to you, follow me on Instagram and join me for the 28-day voice challenge. Let this be the month where you stop trying to perfect your voice and start building a relationship with it. Again, the clarity you are seeking may not be something you need to look for. It may be something that you actually need to listen to. Underneath all the pressure, the noise, the perfectionism, the over-preparation, the performance, the script that you keep editing, the part of you that feels very terrified that you're going to be misunderstood or judged or looked at like a woo-woo witchy crazy lady, right? Your voice is already carrying something super powerful, super medicinal. Your voice has the medicine and you're already carrying that. Your body already knows that. Your spirit already knows that. The practice is learning how to clear enough noise to hear it, and then trusting yourself enough to let it come through. So thank you for being a part of this conversation. I am super excited and stoked about it, and I can't wait for you all to join me for the 28-day voice challenge. And until next time, I will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning into another episode of The Sovereign Room. If this conversation gave you language, permission, or even one big deep exhale, share it with a woman in your life who is also learning how to come home to herself. And if you haven't already, follow the podcast, leave a rating, and subscribe so more women can find their way into this room. New episodes drop every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep coming home to your body, your voice, and yourself.